I always believed that life, much like a well-executed gaming strategy, demanded dedication and sacrifice. My name is Marcus Wynn, and for years I immersed myself in the vibrant world of cybersports. I was not only an avid fan, I was obsessed. Weekends were spent glued to high-definition screens, cheering on my favorite team and dreaming of a day when I might meet the icons of the digital arena. Among them, one name shone brightest: Logan Cross, a cybersports superstar whose every move on the virtual battleground sparked both awe and inspiration in me. But my life was not solely defined by pixels and online victories. I had a family, a loving wife, Allison, and our two bright children, who were the anchors of my existence. Together, we built a modest yet welcoming home in a bustling American suburb, a place where mornings began with the aroma of fresh coffee and the gentle hum of conversation, and where evenings were filled with laughter and shared stories about the day. I had sacrificed a promising career to invest in our family's future, believing that the security of home and the thrill of the game could coexist harmoniously. Allison, with her captivating smile and warm personality, had always been supportive of my passions. She'd cheer me on at local tournaments and even once joined me for a marathon gaming session, her eyes alight with interest. I felt that our lives, though different in focus, were perfectly balanced. My heart was full, my dreams vivid, and our future secure. I never imagined that the very passions that had once united us could one day become the source of a betrayal that would shatter my carefully built world. In the months that followed, subtle signs began to emerge. Whispers in the digital shadows that suggested not all was as it seemed. Allison's once predictable schedule grew erratic. She began receiving messages at odd hours and would disappear for long stretches of time, her excuses growing vaguer with each passing day. At first, I chalked it up to the demands of her own work, trusting that our mutual commitment would weather any storm. Yet, as the small irregularities accumulated, a gnawing doubt took root in my heart. Late one evening, after our children were asleep and our home was wrapped in silence, I sat in my study, surrounded by the soft glow of my desk lamp. I found myself revisiting old emails and text messages that Allison had forwarded to me, a habit we once shared in the spirit of transparency. But now, hidden among the routine business communications, were messages that struck a dissonant chord. There were notes filled with flirty language and playful emojis that didn't belong in a strictly professional context. I began to wonder if these were nothing more than innocent interactions, or if they hinted at something darker, more personal. Every detail mattered. The way her eyes sometimes lingered on her phone during dinner, the subtle shift in her tone when she mentioned a meeting, and even the extra minutes she spent in the car after leaving the house. I started noting these moments in my journal, a worn leather notebook that had once contained poems and dreams, and each entry amplified the growing disquiet in my soul. I told myself that perhaps I was overthinking, that the fast-paced digital age left little room for perfect routines. But as the days passed, those anomalies began to form a pattern. The quiet observations that once seemed trivial now whispered secrets of hidden conversations and clandestine rendezvous. I felt the chill of uncertainty seep into my bones, and though I tried to remain the devoted husband and loyal fan I had always been, I could no longer ignore the signs that something was deeply amiss. Late one humid evening, when Allison once again announced that she was off on a business trip, my heart pounded with a mix of dread and desperate determination. By then, the seeds of suspicion had grown into a gnawing need for truth. I resolved that I could no longer sit in silence, my mind plagued with doubts and unspoken questions. Under the veil of Miami's balmy twilight, I slipped out of our home, every step heavy with trepidation as I followed her. The familiar streets of our Miami suburb, usually illuminated by the soft glow of streetlights and the comforting murmur of nightly life, had transformed that night. Neon reflections shimmered on rain-drenched pavement, and the city, with its pulsating energy, seemed to hide secrets in every corner. My mind raced as I trailed her along these altered paths. A route I thought I knew so well now led to unknown destinations. Every step was laden with a potent mix of apprehension and a desperate hope to finally uncover the truth. At first, Allison moved confidently with a small group of colleagues, their polished professionalism momentarily easing my anxiety. But gradually, she drifted away from the group, her pace slowing as she ventured down a quieter, unfamiliar street. My pulse quickened. The urban din faded into a haunting stillness, replaced by the rhythmic patter of rain and the echo of my own anxious thoughts. I maintained a discreet distance, my eyes fixated on her silhouette until she arrived at a sleek, upscale resort. an establishment that exuded luxury and intimacy far removed from the sterile corridors of corporate life. I parked my car a short distance away and positioned myself near a large window, straining to catch every detail. When I saw shattered me, instead of the business meetings I had expected, I witnessed Allison in a scene that could only be described as a hidden vacation. She was laughing freely with a handsome stranger whose presence radiated an intoxicating blend of confidence and charm. Their demeanor was relaxed, their interactions warm and overtly intimate, a stark contrast to the polished, professional facade she had presented. Every shared glance and gentle touch spoke of a romance blossoming away from my eyes, a betrayal that cut deeper than I could have ever imagined. I fumbled with my phone, my hands trembling as I captured every fleeting moment, snippets of laughter, whispered words that carried the warmth of true intimacy, in the way her hand rested gently on his. Each captured fragment imprinted itself onto my memory with painful clarity, painting a picture of deceit that was undeniable. This was not a business trip. It was a secret, seductive vacation, a romantic escapade that betrayed not only my trust, but also the sacrifices I had made for our family. Returning home in a daze, my mind reeling and my soul heavy with bitter realization, I locked myself in my study. Under the harsh light of my desk lamp, I poured every agonizing detail into my journal. I described, with excruciating precision, the way her eyes seemed to light up with secret delight, the soft tilt of her head as she listened to the stranger's every word, and the sound of her laughter, a sound that once promised hope and warmth, now echoing with a defiant, hidden desire. Each entry was a searing reminder of the life I had believed in, now crumbling under the weight of deception. That night, as the humid air pressed in around me, I vowed that I would not let this betrayal remain hidden. The truth, however painful, must be confronted, and the price of my sacrifice demanded justice. In the days following my heart-wrenching discovery, I transformed my personal anguish into a relentless, single-minded quest for irrefutable proof, a mission that consumed every waking moment. Every minor detail, every anomalous behavior that I had once dismissed as a trivial imperfection, became a vital piece of the puzzle that would expose the full extent of Allison's betrayal. I plunged headlong into her digital world with an intensity that left me both exhausted and unyielding. I sifted through her phone records, scrutinized her social media posts, and combed through every digital conversation with an obsessive precision that bordered on the destructive. Each late-night text message, every unexpected phone call, and the fleeting names that scrolled across her screen were logged meticulously in my journal. It felt as though every small irregularity was a droplet in an ever-growing reservoir of evidence, a reservoir that threatened, with each passing moment, to overflow with undeniable truth. I spent countless sleepless nights saving screenshots of messages that on the surface appeared strictly professional, but, upon closer inspection, revealed flirtatious banter, coded language, and intimate confessions that should have never been shared. These messages, masquerading as business correspondence, were anything but mundane. They were declarations of desire, whispered promises, and unguarded moments of passion directed at someone else. I gathered every photo and short video clip I had captured from my covert surveillance outside the resort. I spent hours digitizing these visual fragments and seamlessly integrating them with the myriad screenshots of those intimate exchanges. With painstaking care, I constructed a detailed timeline that spanned several weeks, a timeline that revealed how each of Allison's so-called business trips had gradually morphed into a series of clandestine getaways. Every entry was meticulously annotated with exact dates, times, and even the precise locations where these secret rendezvous had occurred. Slowly but inexorably, the dossier emerged as a damning mosaic, a visual and written testament to a systematic betrayal that left no room for denial. Yet even as the physical evidence mounted, I found myself beset by a profound internal conflict. In the quiet, lonely hours of the night, I would sit alone before the compiled files, the glowing screen and inked pages reflecting back a version of reality I had never wanted to accept. I began to wonder if my relentless pursuit of proof was slowly erasing the compassionate man I once was, a man who had believed in forgiveness, who had once cherished the sanctity of our family. Each time such doubts crept in, I forced myself to recall the tender, secret moments I had witnessed between Allison and her mysterious paramour, the furtive glances, the soft smiles, the whispered promises that now burned like coals in my memory. And with every recollection, my resolve grew even colder. The bitter truth became inescapable. The cost of betrayal was far too high to allow even a trace of compassion to survive unchallenged. By the end of an agonizing week, my dossier was a comprehensive, unassailable chronicle of every lie, every furtive meeting, every stolen moment of intimacy that had defiled the very foundation of our future. As I pored over the final pages of my journal, my hands trembling and my heart heavy with the weight of every recorded detail, I knew with a grim certainty that the time would soon come to confront Allison with this damning evidence. When that moment arrived, nothing would be able to hide the systematic betrayal I had so painstakingly documented. The dossier was not merely a collection of evidence. It was the embodiment of every broken promise, every sacrifice repaid in deceit, a mirror reflecting the painful reality that I could no longer deny. With a heavy heart and a resolve forged in sorrow and tempered by relentless determination, I closed my journal and stared at the amassed files on my desk. In that quiet, dark moment, I felt a profound transformation, a metamorphosis from the compassionate, hopeful man I once was into someone driven by an unyielding need to force the truth into the unforgiving light. Every meticulously recorded detail was a battle cry against the deception that had so irreparably wounded me. I steeled myself for the inevitable confrontation, knowing that this dossier would serve as the unyielding testament to the betrayal that had shattered my world. The day of reckoning arrived beneath a leaden sky that mirrored the crushing weight of my grief and the turbulent storm of emotions that had been building within me. I had prepared for this day for what felt like an eternity, a day when every hidden truth would be forced into the harsh, unyielding light. I invited Allison to our home under the pretext of discussing our future, a final, desperate attempt to salvage what remained of the dreams we had once shared. In our living room, which had once been a sanctuary of laughter and tender memories, I arranged the dossier on the coffee table with meticulous care. Printed photographs, detailed journal entries, and digital recordings were arrayed like silent witnesses to the systematic betrayal that had invaded my life. When Allison entered, the confident smile I had once adored faltered as her eyes fell upon the damning evidence. For a long, suffocating moment, neither of us spoke. The air was thick with unspoken accusations, every second stretching out in a paralyzing stillness. Then, with a voice trembling between heartbreak and seething anger, I broke the silence. "Allison," I began, each word heavy with sorrow and fury. "I sacrificed everything for our family. I gave up my career, my ambitions, everything, to build a future with you. And now I see that all those promises were nothing but illusions." Her eyes widened in shock, and she stammered weakly, insisting it was just a mistake, a lapse born of loneliness, she claimed. But every piece of evidence, every recorded detail, rendered her feeble explanations hollow and meaningless. I recounted, with painstaking clarity, every late night, every secret call, every intimate message that confirmed the betrayal. Each word fell like a hammer blow upon the fragile foundation of trust we had so dearly built. As her defenses crumbled into quiet sobs, I warned her that the truth was now irrevocably exposed, and that the price of my sacrifice demanded consequences far beyond mere apologies. With my heart aching and my spirit hardened by months of silent suffering, I turned away and left her alone in our home, a home that now echoed with the silence of shattered dreams and broken promises. Stepping out into the chill afternoon, I vowed that Allison, and by extension, the man who had exploited our trust, would soon have to face the full consequences of their actions. My sacrifice was too profound to be repaid with deception, and I knew that the next chapter of this painful journey would demand retribution, a reckoning that would force every broken promise into the unforgiving light of truth. Each step I took away from that house felt laden with the weight of every lost dream and every unspoken word, and I knew in my heart that there would be no turning back. In the bitter days that followed our confrontation, the raw anguish that had once threatened to consume me began to crystallize into a steely resolve for vengeance. I threw myself into advanced self-defense classes, pushing my body through grueling workouts at the gym until every drop of sweat and every bruise became a tangible symbol of the determination burning within me, a determination to reclaim the dignity that had been so ruthlessly stripped away. With each disciplined movement, I felt as if I were piecing together the man I once was, rising resolutely from the ashes of betrayal. Simultaneously, I delved deeper into the world of the man who had betrayed us. A suave figure whose polished charm had long concealed vulnerabilities I was now determined to exploit. I sought out acquaintances, gathered whispered pieces of information, and combed through his social media profiles with an almost obsessive precision. Piece by piece, I constructed a detailed profile that laid bare the human flaws hidden behind his immaculate facade. Every reckless decision he had made, every moment of carelessness he dismissed with arrogance, became ammunition in my growing arsenal of vengeance. I recorded every detail in my journal, the exact phrases he used in casual conversation, the subtle shifts in his tone when he discussed his work, and the rare instances when his mask of confidence cracked, even if for only a moment. Each small piece of information reinforced my resolve. I would hold him accountable for every broken promise and every stolen moment of intimacy that had defiled the future we once dreamed of. Late at night, in the oppressive solitude of our now quiet home, I poured my conflicted emotions onto the pages of my journal. I wrestled with a fear that my relentless pursuit of retribution might ultimately consume the compassionate man I once was, a man who had believed forgiveness, who had cherished the sanctity of our family. But every time that fear threatened to overwhelm me, I recalled the tender, forbidden moments I had witnessed between Allison and that man. The soft, intimate laughs, the secretive glances, the lingering touch that had burned like a brand into my memory, and my resolve only burned brighter. I began to devise a plan with the cold precision of someone who felt he had nothing left to lose. I selected a chic, upscale restaurant, a venue where my betrayer frequently hosted business dinners, and where Allison had once shone with confidence, as the stage for the next act in this unfolding tragedy. Every detail was mapped out meticulously. The exact time of the confrontation, the layout of the dining room with its intimate alcoves and softly lit corners, and the precise sequence of actions that would force a public reckoning. I vowed that the retribution I sought would not only restore my honor, but also serve as an unyielding warning. The price of betrayal is steep and must be repaid in full. The seeds of vengeance, planted deep within the shattered remnants of my heart, grew stronger with every painful memory. I spent countless sleepless nights haunted by the image of Allison laughing intimately with that man, the lingering caress of his hand, the secret glances exchanged in the darkness. Though I sometimes questioned whether this dark path might ultimately erode the compassion that still flickered within me, those vivid, searing images eclipsed any lingering doubt. I pledged that no matter the cost, I would force a reckoning that left both of them irrevocably scarred by the truth, a reckoning that would unmask every deception and cast our once sacred vows into the unforgiving light of reality. Every new piece of evidence I uncovered, every minute detail I recorded, felt like a small, hard-fought victory, a step closer to reclaiming the dignity that had been so brutally ripped from me. I chronicled every clandestine call, every furtive text, every shadowed meeting until my dossier grew into a towering monument to betrayal. With each new page, my determination hardened further, transforming the pain of every memory into fuel for an unquenchable desire for retribution. Under a sky heavy with dark clouds and a relentless drizzle that transformed Miami's neon glow into a shifting mosaic of sorrow and regret, the night of reckoning finally arrived. It was as though the heavens themselves mourned the collapse of everything I had once held dear. Madeline had announced yet another evening out, a routine that she cloaked in the guise of professional duty, and I knew, with an intensity that pounded in my chest, that she would be drawn to the upscale restaurant where Blake Monroe, her suave and self-assured betrayer, conducted his business with unwavering confidence. I parked my car in a narrow, shadowed alley, the slick pavement reflecting fractured neon signs like shards of a shattered promise. I sat there in agonizing silence, each heartbeat echoing the relentless, mournful cadence of the rain. Every droplet that fell carried with it the toll of my grief, a quiet testament to the promises that had been broken. With a final, resolute breath, I stepped from my car and crossed the slick pavement. The cold night air bit at my skin as I approached the looming entrance of the restaurant, a modern coliseum where fates would be irrevocably sealed. From the tinted windows of my vehicle, I watched as Madeline emerged into the rain-soaked night. The woman I had once known, radiant, wan, and full of promise, now moved with a subdued, almost ghostly grace that betrayed the intimate secrets she shared. The rain softened her features, yet her eyes burned with a hidden sorrow, flickering with regret. Beside her, Blake strode confidently, his polished charm and self-assured demeanor a stark contrast to the turbulent emotions churning within me. Every casual touch, every lingering caress between them, was a public declaration of the betrayal that had haunted me in silence for so long. With deliberate, measured resolve, I left the shelter of my car and advanced into the stormy night. The rain mingled with the sweat on my skin as I neared the entrance of the restaurant, each step resonating with the bitter rhythm of my broken heart. Inside, The atmosphere was deceptively serene, a gentle murmur of conversations, the soft clink of glassware, and ambient lighting that bathed the space in a calming glow, belying the storm within me. I navigated through the crowd with single-minded focus until I reached a secluded booth in the far corner, where Madeline and Blake sat ensconced in their private world of whispered secrets and tender gestures. For what felt like an eternity, I absorbed every detail. The soft cadence of their shared laughter, the lingering touches that spoke of forbidden intimacy, and the exchanged glances that confirmed every painful suspicion. In that suspended moment, the air around me seemed to vibrate with the raw energy of impending retribution. Every second stretched on, each heartbeat a countdown to the moment when the truth would no longer be hidden. Then, as if unable to contain the storm raging inside me any longer, I emerged from the shadows. In an instant, everything changed. Madeline's face contorted into a raw mask of horror, disbelief, and deep, soul-crushing regret, a look that shattered the remnants of the love I had once believed in. Blake's confident facade crumbled under the force of my sudden assault as I lunged forward, every movement fueled by the months of pent-up anguish that had built within me. I struck him with a series of precise, calculated blows, each impact echoing like the toll of a final bell that signaled the end of an era of deception. The restaurant erupted into chaos, gasps, murmurs, and a clatter of overturned chairs. As I unleashed my fury upon them both, I shouted declarations of betrayal and recited the litany of sacrifices I had made, ensuring that every witness in that room felt the crushing weight of my retribution. In that brutal, chaotic moment, the private sanctuary of our intimacy was violently torn away, thrust into the unforgiving glare of public scrutiny. When, at last, the tumult subsided and a heavy, sorrowful silence fell over the room, I slipped away into the rain-drenched night. Every step I took away from that scene was laden with the bittersweet knowledge that nothing could ever restore what had been lost. And yet, for one fleeting, excruciating moment, I had reclaimed a shred of my honor from the depths of betrayal, a solitary, hard-won victory in a war that had cost me everything. In the days that followed that fateful night, the world seemed to slow to a mournful cadence, a heavy, lingering silence that seeped into every corner of my existence. I returned to our once vibrant home, now transformed into a mausoleum of shattered dreams and irrevocable choices. The walls that had once resounded with the laughter of shared moments now whispered bitter secrets and regrets. Though the physical wounds inflicted during that violent confrontation would eventually fade, like bruises slowly losing their color, the deep emotional scars, the searing pain of betrayal, and the crushing cost of my sacrifice were etched indelibly into my soul. They stood as a constant, unyielding reminder of that night, a spectral ledger of every broken promise and every unhealed wound. News of the confrontation spread quietly throughout our community, whispered behind closed doors, exchanged in hushed tones among neighbors who now regarded me with a mixture of pity and wariness. I had become a symbol, a man both pitted and seared, whose desperate quest for retribution had forced hidden sins into the harsh, unyielding light of public scrutiny. Official inquiries passed in a blur of bureaucratic formality, their impersonal questions a distant murmur compared to the storm of guilt and sorrow that raged within me. Yet, the true burden of my actions lay solely with the ceaseless, unanswerable question of whether any act of vengeance could ever restore what had been so irrevocably shattered. In the wake of that terrible night, Madeline vanished from our home, as if swallowed by the darkness she had long concealed. Her absence left behind a cavernous void, a space filled with unanswered questions, bitter regret, and the echo of a love betrayed beyond repair. Blake, too, receded into obscurity, a mere shadow, diminished by the heavy consequences of his choices. I found myself alone, standing amidst the ruins of a future that had once promised so much, forever altered by the irreversible path of retribution I had chosen. In the solitude of my study, a room that had once been a sanctuary for hope and creative dreams, I began a new journal, one that bore the raw, unfiltered account of my journey from sacrifice to betrayal, and from that betrayal to the steep, unyielding pursuit of vengeance. Every page became a chronicled bitter irony. In giving up my career and ambitions to build a family, I had envisioned a future founded on unwavering trust. Instead, I discovered that the very foundation of that future had been shattered by secrets, lies, and the forbidden intimacy that stole away my dreams. Every word I penned was a struggle, a battle between a fragile hope for redemption and the stark, unyielding reality that some wounds never fully. I recorded the echoes of whispered confessions that haunted the long, lonely nights. The ghostly remnants of laughter turned to silence, and the heavy toll of every broken promise. As dawn broke on a misty morning, the weak light of a new day barely pierced the thick veil of sorrow that clung to my heart. I stood at a crossroads, scarred in both body and soul, uncertain if I could ever truly move forward. Yet, amid the overwhelming grief and the lingering sting of betrayal, I resolved that my story would serve as a cautionary chronicle, a testament to the fragile nature of trust and the steep, irreversible price of deception. Perhaps, in time, these scars might guide me toward a path of reluctant healing, a slow, arduous journey toward a peace that now seemed almost unattainable. Now, as I step forward into an uncertain future, I carry with me both the legacy of my sacrifice and the heavy burden of my retribution. I have become both the avenger and the wound, a man forever marked by broken promises and the forbidden intimacy that stole away my dreams. In the quiet moments before each new day, as the darkness of night gives way to the tentative glow of dawn, I allow myself a fragile hope that one day, redemption might emerge from these ruins. Until that uncertain dawn arrives, I remain a living testament to one bitter truth. The price of betrayal is steep, and the pursuit of vengeance, even if it offers fleeting, brutal relief, leaves behind a legacy of sorrow, irrevocable change, and a heart that may never fully mend. And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed this journey, please give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more incredible stories like this one. Got thoughts or experiences you'd like to share? Drop them in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.